are getting this report just in here on the channel as Tom Pelissero has said the belief amongst executives in the NFL who know Washington GM Adam Peters, they believe he will draft J.J. McCarthy with pick number 2 in this year's draft. We're going to be breaking that all down and more on today's show. My name is Patrick Siepman. Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. And is this a smokescreen? Is it not? We'll get to that here in a second. But I want to say this. This would be an absolute dream for Minnesota. And I have been in the camp that I would love if the Vikings went out and landed the Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy. But if you're telling me J.J. goes 2, and then at number 3 or number 4, the Vikings, if they end up trading up, could land Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels, and it may not require, the overall haul that they would have to send to get pick number 2. I think this would be a dream scenario for Minnesota. We'll dive into that report and more here coming up just around the corner. But I want to first off say thank you to everybody who has hit that subscribe button over the last couple of weeks. We just hit 24,000 subs here on the channel. So seriously, guys, thank you guys so much. I know there's been a ton of, reports out there left and right. We're hearing different things, and you guys just kind of staying along with me throughout this saga around the Vikings trade up in the NFL draft. Seriously, guys, thank you so much. If you guys haven't already and want to join this Vikings Now family, hit that subscribe button because no matter the time, no matter the day, wherever I'm at, I will make a video for you guys ASAP. I promise you that. We just put out a video a couple hours ago about the Broncos possibly trading up ahead of the Minnesota Vikings because of what Sean Payton said. So we will have a video for it all. So hit that sub button. But let's talk about it. So this could obviously be smokescreen season, but Tom Pelissero wouldn't just come out and say this. And, obviously, we've gotten different types of reports around this whole, scenario around the Vikings. But I think there is definitely some validity to Pelissero coming out there and saying other NFL executives think the Commanders will take J.J. McCarthy. And here's my prediction. Whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels, I think the Washington Commanders will take either of those two. So what could that mean for the Minnesota Vikings? Maybe quarterback Drake Maye could end up falling in the 2024 NFL Draft. So where would the Vikings have to trade up in that scenario? It would probably be with the New England Patriots. And I got some quotes from their head coach, Jarod Mayo, that may have indicated they're more open to trading down than most people think. Let's kick it to the Patriots head coach. He says, when I first started watching these guys, it was a 3-man race. Talking about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake Maye. And now as you continue to go through the combine or the pro days and bringing guys in on 30 visits and having to spend time with those guys to really get to go what makes them tick, I mean, it's about 5 guys, honestly, that could come in and be a solid quarterback in the future for the New England Patriots. And I think it could be one of these 3 guys sitting there at number 3. I think the Commanders are going to take one of these 3. I think it's more likely than not that it's Jaden Daniels or J.J. McCarthy. So then where does that leave the Minnesota Vikings? If, let's just say, J.J. goes to Washington, we'll go off that kind of, report from Pelissero for the rest of this video. That means it's either Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels going to be there at number 3. And my take with all this is if the Patriots want to take, let's just say, Michael Penix or Bo Nix, as Jarod Mayo just said, there's about 5 guys out there that they would like to draft. The Vikings could make them a great offer if they want to also get another first-round pick and still get a quarterback in this year's draft class. Because let's just say the Vikings throw them this offer, where they are receiving number 11, number 23, another first-round pick, and another third-round pick. Well, if you're New England, you're saying, okay, we could just go get Michael Penix at 11, go get another stud in the first round, and then we have 2 first-round picks for next season and a third-round pick. And they could throw Michael Penix into the fire this year and say, hey, you're going to go be our starting quarterback for 1 year. And then if he doesn't work out, New England could package that third-round pick, the Vikings' first-round pick, and their own to go trade up in next year's draft class. Let's kick it to more from Jarod Mayo, because he was talking to Patriots fans when people were saying, I'm frustrated with them not having a franchise quarterback. And he said, I understand the frustration and expectations built over the last 20 years, but we're trying to build this team the right way for the long term. But this is the interesting part. I know everyone likes to think they have the special formula to picking players, but honestly, the guaranteed way to win is to accumulate more picks. So if we don't feel convinced at number 3, we are willing to trade back as well. Keep that last part. We are willing to trade back as well. And you may be saying, well, that's just smoke from the Patriots. There's no way they go and give up that number 3 pick? Well, I got 4 reasons why the Patriots might say yes to us. Number 1, their roster just isn't ready for a rookie quarterback. I think with a lot of these rookies, support system and landing spot matters more than most people think. We can dive into the film, dive into the analytics, but most of the time with these young quarterbacks, it's who they are throwing the ball to and who's protecting them. And if we take a look at the Patriots wide receiver depth chart right now, I mean, they got a bunch of 2s and 3s in my opinion. Shout out KJ Osborne, just signed with the Patriots, so shout out to him, Vikings legend. He should do big things over there in New England, but, it's DeMario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Reagor, another Vikings legend, and then Juju Smith-Schuster. They don't really have a true 1 or 2 option. They honestly just got a bunch of 3s and 4 in my opinion, so it's not like, the Patriots are giving a rookie quarterback a surefire great landing spot. And number 2, let's just say they like but don't love any of the top quarterbacks. The 3 we mentioned, Drake Maye, J.J. McCarthy, and Jaden Daniels. Let's just say New England, they like those guys, but they don't love him or love any of them. And then the Minnesota Vikings can throw an absolute haul to them, and they could go draft a quarterback later on in this year's class that maybe, has the top potential of some of these guys, but they could be great options. And those guys are such as Michael Penix. They could take him at pick 11 or pick 23. Could be a guy like Bo Nix as well. If they end up liking him, think he can succeed with the Patriots system in the NFL, I could see them considering the Oregon quarterback. Or they could just take a guy like Spencer Rattler in the 3rd round and then take 2 really good players in the 1st round and completely send a haul next year to trade up. And that's my 3rd point. The Patriots still would have that option available. I don't think, like with a lot of these teams that are like, oh, like we want a quarterback so bad this year, and, it looks like they would, there's still next year. There's still the next year after that where they could, accumulate a lot of picks and then trade up then. And then also, my last reason, let's just say the Patriots go all in on Drake Maye, all in on Jaden Daniels, and let's just say they just don't end up working out. For whatever reason, their game doesn't translate to the next level, and they just don't end up working out. They could get fired. Jarod, Mayo, the new front office, all of them could get canned if they strike out on a quarterback. So maybe they're thinking, we could just push this timeline back, give us some more extra time. I don't know. I think the Patriots would really consider this trade idea I had of the Vikings sending them 11, 23, an extra 1st, and an extra 3rd round pick. But you guys let me know, would you accept this trade? If you are a Vikings fan, let me know your thoughts down below. A for accept, D for decline. And also if you're a Patriots fan watching this video, let me know if you would accept this deal. Man, rumors are flying, especially if you're a Patriots fan. If Drake Maye's on the board right now, would you do this and accept this trade with Minnesota? Let me know your thoughts down below. But coming up next, I got different trade-up scenarios for the Minnesota Vikings coming to you guys just in a second because I think they got 5 real options. But first, I want to give a big-time shout-out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys head to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use promo code CLNS, we'll give you guys a first deposit match up to $100. Football season may be over, but the action on the hardwood is heating up. Whether it's March Madness or the fight for NBA playoff seeding, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. And maybe you're not a basketball guy and you're a baseball guy. This is the lineup I got going on for the whole MLB season. It's the Rodriguez bros, and I just got them. I'm taking more. I think they're going to have a good season, so I'm taking more on Grayson Rodriguez strikeouts and more on Julio Rodriguez hits for the entire season. But if you guys want to ride with my picks, fade my picks, make sure you guys do it at Prize Picks. It is simple. All you got to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get started now if you haven't already at prizepicks.com/CLNS and get a first-time deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/CLNS. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. So my take after hearing all of these reports that we've gotten over the last 24 hours is I think the Vikings are going to have to be more aggressive than I thought in terms of trading up to go and getting their quarterback. I think we got teams like the Broncos, who we broke that down on a video earlier today, where Sean Payton said it's realistic that they trade up in this year's draft class. So overall, I think the Vikings, if they want to go get their guy, it may even cost an extra 3rd or an extra 4th to land whoever that may be. But I think the Vikings got 5 options here in the NFL draft. And number 1, it's a go big or go home. It's just sending whatever it would take to Washington and landing the 2nd pick, because then you have your pick of the litter. If you want Daniels, if you want May, if you want McCarthy, you can for sure kind of, slot yourself into getting the guy you really want. Then you could go to number 2, which would be move into the top 3 of the NFL draft, where you're kind of just, going to do whatever the Commanders don't do at number 2, which I think is a great option. Obviously, would cost you maybe, not as many picks to trade up to number 2 overall, but I think this is a great one as well. And then it's number 3, and, you could say this with the Chargers or Cardinals, but it's just taking the best quarterback available. So I think in this situation, it's the Vikings are just going to see what happens in the top 3, and then either pick 4 or 5. They just take whoever is left available in that spot. And then number 4, this could be a draft day scenario. Let's just say the Vikings are sitting there and they don't love any of the deals and teams are really asking for the, farm for those guys. They could be sitting there draft night and just watch the board. And then maybe a team like the Atlanta Falcons where you could toss them 11 and 23, trade up to 8, and if McCarthy or any of these guys end up shockingly falling in this year's draft class, you just slide in and go and get your quarterback. But number 5 for me, I call this maximizing resources. And the reason I say this is because, I do think it's almost 100% the Vikings are going to want to go get their guy. But what if they're sitting there saying that all these teams aren't giving us a solid deal, so we're going to sit back and just get the most we can for pick 11, and a team like Carolina could be calling because they don't have a first-round pick, but they do have 2 second-rounders. And what if Carolina offers you number 33 and number 39 for pick 11? I wouldn't necessarily hate this idea for Minnesota, but I wouldn't love it by any means. But hey, man, you would have 3 picks in the top 40. You could really fill out a complete roster. If you think most of the talent in this year's draft class is between 20 and 50, I can maybe see Carolina wanting to trade up there and getting one of those top receivers that obviously we know this is one of the best receiver classes we have seen of all time. But there is just 5 options for the Minnesota Vikings trading in this year's draft class, but it's looking more and more likely that the Commanders may actually shock the world here and take J.J. McCarthy. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, I want to know where all the real ones are at. Give me a skull down in the comments section so I can see all the real ones that watch all the way through this video of mine, and I obviously would really appreciate it. But also, guys, if you guys haven't already, hit that sub button. Join this family we got here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports. We're growing like crazy, and it's all credit to you guys, so I really appreciate it. But J.J. McCarthy may end up being a Washington Commander. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.